Right, end of level and year 2 ayahuasca really. Ceremony 66, it's Monday today, so ceremony 66 was Friday with the group Mike, Perla and Jessica. Again, another lovely group. We all got on really well. Everyone's open, very open traits, and after Wednesdays was the really hard ceremony, worse than Monday. A lot of diarrhea 5 times, back in the room, vomiting 5 times, so I was exhausted Thursday. The culmination of the previous 2 weeks just built, it continued to build. So, and I said to Maestro, my stomach is just, always a problem in ceremonies. I think we talked early Saturday morning, and he said when I come to Pakalpa, he'll give me some medicine. Obviously, Mum had telling me the previous ceremony that I'm actually partly extracting energy as well, but without being a shaman. So I have to go through the whole ceremony with upset stomach, and it's always been the case for me. So she kind of explained that. She said, that's what you've been doing all the time. But he said, he'd give me some medicine for that when I go to see him this Thursday. I've got my flight today, found a direct flight with Sky for 500 soles, which doesn't go via Lima. So that's really happy about that. He's already sent me information on various hospedajes that I can stay, be about 30 soles a night down there. He's also told me that I'll be with a friend of his who's also doing a dieta, but I'm not going to talk any more about the details of that dieta for various reasons. And the video will be unlisted so that it's not on main YouTube for good reasons. So after all the plans of Vietnam, that was blown out of the water on, when was it? Oh, I can't remember. I think I said it in the last video anyway. Explain that. That came out of the blue, big surprise, to take up his offer on the dieta, and just kind of round off the journey how I want to, which I've always wanted to. So looking forward to that. It should be really interesting, but it's going to be hard, no doubt about that, because he's a very, very powerful shaman. But we'll see. I don't know. But back to Friday, even Maestro had a really, really tough ceremony. The energies that he was taking out of our group, I won't say the individuals that I suspect as carrying probably a lot of it, but everybody obviously has. And also, I know I had a lot of really bad energy because, as Mama had told me at the beginning of the week, you're going to have a tough week, because at that point I was still thinking about, I was going away to Vietnam or Asia or Thailand, wherever, first. And so she said to me on the Monday night, it's going to be a tough week, a lot of cleaning to do, get you absolutely as clean as possible before you go. And it was probably the most difficult 2 weeks I've done, actually, in succession, out of all of them, because Friday, at one point, probably mid-ceremony or maybe a bit after, some energy that went right from my rib cage down to my lower guts, and it was like a big slice of fruit. The shape, a kind of yellow slice. It was weird, like not normally like a little ball or an egg or something that I've had before. And it was the most horrendous anxiety for half an hour or more. Really powerful anxiety. And Mum said to me, this is the first attack that ever hit you when you were a baby. Because I've told you many times, they've been trying to kill you right from when you were born. Because of, feeding into that story of the role of certain people, many people probably, are born into a particular family that's already got a lot of dark energy. And you've been chosen really to to kind of balance that role in the light. You know, being born into a family that's already pretty well corrupted, and you're born into it to balance it. You know, and the more people I meet, especially after the last 2 weeks, since hearing that story about myself, telling other people that really fit that position, as well as a couple of people I know back in the UK, Joe and Michael, people who have been born into families where narcissism is a very strong element. So, and you know, spoke to Jason about this as well, because he was extremely stoic, and of course he got told that he was also a very old spirit and very similar situation. And also Perla had an interesting comment this week. She said to me, after whichever ceremony it was, that she had the impression that her spirit was actually older than the shamans, because she's got a Romani background. She's from Romania, but with a Romani background. And of course, she's had various experiences in her youth, and I had a suspicion about Perla because I'm pretty good at reading people with my experiences in this, you know, acting as a sort of unofficial facilitator at the Temple of Light, because obviously, you know, I get to meet all the new groups and I spend a lot of time with them, and you know, give them benefit of my experience and tips on for this first ceremony, particularly to get them through any difficulties, or the main difficulty which is if it gets really overwhelming, and just asking Mama to dial it back and that sort of thing. So right from the first conversation with just me and Perla, I was, you know, I knew there was a lot to her behind what I perceived as a bit of a shield. And in ceremony, you know, talking to Mama about her, very smart, very intelligent girl, but a lot going on behind the scenes. And Jess similarly, but she's so bright. She was. It was lovely. There was a term that came to me talking to Mama, because in the second ceremony I had this nice little vision. She was just like in a little glass bowl, really bright glass bowl hanging from a string, and I told her the next day, and she was like this little Chinese lantern. And then on Friday it was like the term, my solar powered Chinese lantern, because she's such a bright light in the dark. She really is, full of energy. So it was a wonderful group. We all got on really well. We had some interesting conversations with Maestro. I invited Lady on the boat coming back. I invited Lady and Maestro for lunch. Although Maestro was stuck for time because he was flying straight to Pucallpa that afternoon. So we went into Cafe Dawn and all had lunch. And a lot of people, you know, the guys were asking him a lot of really interesting questions, with Lady translating, and some of that was quite fascinating about what he went through in the ceremonies, you know, what sort of things he sees. And he said he had a really difficult ceremony. There was one point where he felt he was being really overwhelmed too. There was a lot of dark energy coming from and trying to re-enter or maintain their position, and he was struggling, and he vomited at least twice that I remember. But the first time, again, like Wednesday, he vomited like fuck in that ceremony, really big vomits. And I've never seen this with a shaman, vomiting that heavily. But, you know, you're thinking, oh, I hope he's okay. God, you know, that was a hell of a vomit. And then he just spring back up after a breather and go into another really powerful Icaro. He's so powerful. He's the most powerful shaman I've worked with. I mean, there's not a lot between him and Urias and Hyro in some ways, or many ways, but he's just got, well, and it was incredible. We had a very bright moon on Friday, so there was a bit of light coming through the windows that night, because it's been pretty stormy and overcast. We've had a hell of a lot of rain, loads of really powerful rainstorms. So it was nice that the moon kind of shone at one point, or right from early on we had light, just to barely see, enough to see people walking around and stuff, the facilitators. And at one point he was doing my Icaro, personal Icaro for me at the end of the bed, and I kind of sat up on my elbows because I just looking. Of course, when you're really tripping heavily, and the darkness of his hair, and then morphing into various shapes that your own vision sees, like very strange, almost alien. You know, you're sort of wondering, because when he's singing, you don't get to see it very often because most people don't think to sit up when the shaman's right in the peak of the ceremony, and there's loads of spiritual energy called from the Icaros he's already sung. There's loads of, and everyone's well under the influence, been through the cleaning period maybe. You know, it's after maybe the second drink. Although we don't get that on a Friday because people have to leave on the Saturday morning, get the boat for 10. So so people have to be kind of with it on Saturday morning. So if it's going to be a strong ceremony, he'll just do the first cup for various certain people that he deems fit to do a full cup, and then it's left at that. And watching him at my feet, and he was actually touching my feet. He was sitting, and when he was bending down and singing, completely possessed by the plant spirit. It's absolutely fascinating to watch. You know, the movement that goes on, which is why you get these voices being projected to the side, because he's swinging his head, and he was banging his head on my feet and didn't faze him at all. But sometimes he was actually grabbing my leg on my arm, and in rhythm to the Icaro, squeezing my foot or my leg. Really felt so connected to him, and kind of just had a period where I was kind of getting into the shamanistic resonance, you know, from similar to last week when I had the powerful vision of myself being a shaman, dancing with him. So it was a really, really strong ceremony. And he'd said on, was it Thursday, the chat with him on Thursday, I said to him about, you know, after so much diarrhea and stomach problems, he said, easy ceremony for you tonight. He said, you're clean. He said, but yeah, there will be cleaning. He said, but, you know, easier ceremony for you. Only a third of a cup, no more. And I was like, happy with that. And because I couldn't go through Wednesday again. I'd said that about Monday, and I had to go worse on Wednesday. And that was just it was pretty grueling, you know, really hard work and terrible stomach. But that was when I fainted as well on Wednesday. So the thought of another cup on Friday, I was like, oh geez, I don't want to do this. And it was horrible. It was just foul. And it had like scum bits in it as well, which made it really hard to swallow. It was foul, even for a third of a cup. When Christian handed it to me, I kind of, you know, had the weight, thinking, oh Christ, is that heavier than I thought? So as I tipped it up and could gauge the volume, I thought, oh, it's not too bad. He did say he'd only give me a third, and it was. But getting it down, and it tasted horrible. Even the same brew as the previous ones, but it just seemed to get progressively worse as your resistance to wanting to take it. But everybody got it down, and there was a lot of mouth swilling afterwards because it tasted foul as usual. Really, you know, and when you've been vomiting it back up again, and the taste of it after it's been in your guts for 2 hours and cleaning and everything, when it comes back up and it makes you retch even more, and it was foul. So I had a strong vomit on Friday again, but it felt pretty okay. At the end of the ceremony, I got up, being careful, said to Christian, we don't want a repeat of the other night when I fell on my ass, when I just blacked out and went straight into a really strong vision space on Wednesday. But probably only a couple of seconds, because obviously next thing I know, I was being pulled up by Christian on Wednesday, and they're asking me if I was okay, but I needed Lady and Christian to walk me back on each arm, as I said in the other video. But I was okay, but I still had, again, usual stuff that's just in my stomach, and I just wanted to vomit it out. But I only vomited it out, I think maybe twice, drank some water after the first vomit, and then I think I've had some apple, but vomited that back up. Can't remember whether there was diarrhea once, which did continue even arriving back on Saturday after we had the meal. Later that afternoon, there was still a bit of cleaning, just a little bit of diarrhea, not a lot, tiny little bit, but it was still there at the weekend. So that was nearly a full week from when my first diarrhea started on the previous Sunday, when after Lady had cooked me scrambled eggs on Sunday, when I ate with the shaman, Lady and Christian, when there was no clients at the weekend. That afternoon was the start of the the diarrhea, which is why I was just completely exhausted. I've never been that drained. The cumulative effect of the previous week with the previous group with Jason and Twin and Jen and Kai, because massively strong energies in that as well. But it was really cumulative. I was knackered at the weekend, and then it just continued right the way through. And I only really feel I've caught up and had a good night's sleep last night, because I slept in the afternoon because I was awake at 3 on the first night here. We got to sleep about 9 on Saturday night, but woke up at 3 in the morning wide awake, so was awake through that whole day. And we all walked to Belen on Saturday because Perla wanted to do some shopping, and so did Jess, and they'd pick up some gifts and maracas, and Mike wanted some rapes and whatnot, and I got some more mapacho. So we went to Belen Market and had a really nice day. Lady came with us, which was lovely, and so she stayed with us after lunch. Maestro had to catch his plane, so he left after, during dinner. He couldn't stay and eat with us because he had to get to the airport, so he had a takeaway. And we had a really nice afternoon. But after that walk, we met up again in the evening at Cafe Dawn, the 4 of us, about 6 o'clock, and I said, I'm fucking knackered. I bet everyone had been, had a kip in the afternoon for about an hour from 3 after lunch. It just all caught up. It was just so cumulative. So it was, it was a good ceremony, great week, but knackering after the 2 weeks, really was. I was just so shattered. I've never been that tired, but it's a nice hotel. I stayed in Casa Natiba again, but unfortunately I did have an arguing couple at 8 o'clock this morning, so I had to talk to reception about it. They're here another night, but hopefully they've got over whatever their row was about. So, because there's a gap just by the window here, and their window's opposite, and you could hear them arguing, which is not what you want with Peruvians because they're loud. So, but anyway, it's fine. And I went to Casa Morona, Hotel Morona, just to try and save 3 days at 30 soles instead of 3 nights at 110. But I walked up there, but they're full, so I couldn't stay there anyway, which kind of suited me because I do like this room. It's a bit expensive than normal, but it's quiet. So, so is Casa Morona, if you're Hotel Morona, which is next to Casa Natibo if you come again. If you get the rooms at the back, they're away from the road and they're quiet for only 30 soles a night, and they're fine. But again, like everything in Peru, it all depends on if you get a family next to you, or people that are loud. That's the difference, which is a pain. But anyway, it is what it is, and it's been fine generally. So just had a really quiet day. We saw Perla off yesterday, Sunday. Keith came and picked her up in the tuk-tuk, so her flight was yesterday afternoon back to Amsterdam, and left just me and Mike then. And we just went back to our hotels, didn't meet up in the evening, just rested. We needed it. And probably going to meet Mike later. He's not going till tomorrow now. He's got to go up to the border of Santa Rosa and Leticia, where I went to before I left for Bolivia to pick up get my visa re-stamped and re-enter Peru. So he's carrying on through Colombia and carrying on his journey. Got a message from Jason today, finally. He's back in touch. He's in Mexico at the moment. And so it was nice to talk to him. And Perla's back in Amsterdam. Jess has made it home to Asheville in North Carolina. So pretty much an end to it. But there's not too much to tell really, because our group was very, very controlled, very quiet group, just the vomiting. There's no vocalizations or anything. Everyone was very much in control of it. Mike had his biggest vomits probably on Wednesday. He didn't vomit on Friday, nor did Perla, I believe. Jess did. Jess was, and of course, and we had Cambo on Thursday as well. So we came out of Wednesday's ceremony and all did a Cambo session, which also, I think I explained in the last one. I had the Cambo gave me a round of diarrhea immediately after finishing, So the diarrhea's continued, and then of course Wednesdays with the hot sweats, there's an element of dehydration gone on there from vomiting and diarrhea so much, which is it just drains you. So it was a really tough week. But Maestro's Icaros, as usual, were so powerful. But for him to tell us on Saturday that he was struggling at one point with, one particular point. I got the impression it was after Perla's second private Icaro, because you feel all the Icaros of everyone else still, but some are definitely stronger than others. Some are more kind of relaxing and relieving. But yeah, everyone felt that they had a major chunk, if not everything. Because there's always, people, you've got a lifetime, even if these guys are probably, Perla and Jess had their birthdays, 28 and 30. So even if they're half my age, you've still got 30 years to accumulate, a lot of negative energy that's stuck to you, which produces all your negative emotions and your stress and your problems. And, ayahuasca can't get rid of everything in one go. And it continues to work for a long period after, but in my case with 57 years, I've only now 2.5 years journey have I been cleaned. And Maestro said to me on Thursday, which came out of the blue, because Thursday after lunch, I think it was it Friday? I can't remember now, such a grueling week. But anyway, after lunch I was sitting on my own the guys had gone back to their rooms, or was it before they arrived? But anyway, that's right, because they all came out the kitchen. The staff came out the kitchen to wash their plates, and as they were walking by, I caught Maestro and I said, Maestro, can I just have a word for a minute? And then he sat down with Christian, which was handy. I said, Christian, can you translate some of this for me? I just need to ask Maestro. I said, about the dieta, really? Is it okay for me to do it? And he just said, yeah, you're clean. So that was the confirmation then that the plans had changed. And I'd been thinking about it since Monday, after talking to him on Monday again about this. And it was a big decision, so I mulled over it for a couple of days, and then a couple of times in ceremony. I didn't mention in the other one, so there was one point, I think it was Wednesday's ceremony. There was one point where Mama kind of popped in and she said, do you want to do the dieta? And at that point in the ceremony, there was a bit of the old kind of lack of confidence demon that I've suffered all my life too. And I had an element of doubt, and I paused for a while before I answered her. I said, yeah, I want to do it. And she said, do you want to do the dieta, Steve? You need to be absolutely sure. She said, because you need to be absolutely definite about being committed to this dieta, or the plants won't take you seriously. I said, yeah, I want to do it. And since then, and then of course confirmed it with Maestro in this little conversation. And when he told me, he said, look, you're clean. And in that ceremony, along, as I've already said, about this horrendous, horrible anxiety feeling for half an hour, it was really almost overpowering. I thought, oh shit, how long is this going to last? And being so drained, and after all the previous ceremonies of other aspects of stomach problems, Wednesday with the circle of bad energy, with the knife through the sternum that Maestro cleared with it, I just really wiped out. And so to have this final thing, but she said to me, this is it. This is the first thing you've been hit with. We've cleaned that to this level, which is what this week was all about, getting rid of the final stuff. And it has. It's just, now that I've got over the tiredness and feeling the energy, just back to normal after food and resting, feel really good today, in a really good space. Not as nice probably as bits of yesterday. Perla was definitely in the afterglow. She was, outside the shops with the loud music, which normally bothers the shit out of me. we didn't have the sensitivity, which was nice. I've had a bit of it this morning, walking around Iquitos, just for a little bit, but just fine. Just don't let it get to you. Because Paula was saying, "Oh, I love this place," and I didn't say anything. I thought, yeah, you want to live here though. It's a different story, especially through integration, where you have those days where you can be really sensitive, and the noise and some of the behavior of the people. When you're in that really sensitive mode, and you have, moments of retrospection and alone time in a sort of a deeper, more pensive sort of space, it can be difficult, and but I've only had a tiny bit of that today, but not for long. It was fine. And so I just ate in a local cafe today, and had a really nice soup for 10 soles, well cheap. Soup with spaghetti or noodles and just a couple of bits of chicken in there roasted, which was it was just really tasty, with the tiny little yellow chili peppers, the tiny little ball ones, little seed ones. They're pretty hot, but not too much. I had a little bite of one of those, so it was nice to sort of eat with the locals, just in a little cafe round the corner from the bank machine. And then I was just really chuffed, because when I was ready to go and get my ticket, because I'd walked past earlier in the day and there's a couple of people in there, I was like, I'll go to the bank first and come back later. And when I walked in, beautiful girl in there, one of the prettiest girls I've ever seen in Iquitos, stunning. And she got me my ticket. My card didn't work, but paid cash, and was really chuffed, because I went to see Ida yesterday, about 7 o'clock last night, and it pissed it down. Just as I was about to get in a tuk-tuk, it started to rain, so I jumped in a tuk-tuk and went to Ida's place, and had a good chat with Ida, and told her what my plans were, and obviously what the ceremonies were like. Told her about the witch the previous week, so she was really interested in that, because obviously Ida's got she's got Brazilian, Amazonian ancestry, along with German grandparents. So she'd had a nice weekend out under a special medicinal tree at the weekend on the banks of the rivers, for a picnic with a group of students that she has for a language school. So it was lovely to catch up with Ida, but I said I'll leave the bags for now. I'm too tired. I'll come back tonight. So I'll go to her place tonight at 6. After 6 o'clock, have a look in these 2 bags, and I've got to try and arrange everything to be able to get everything in my rucksack, but I don't think I'll be able to. I've got too much stuff, but we'll see. But I'm okay, because I'm not leaving Peru now. I'll leave my whatever I can at Ida's again. I'll just have to go through it and see what I want, because I've got other lights. I've got Arcana pattern trousers that are really comfortable, white cotton, and go through my clothes, and I've got a light and a solar panel. I don't know, of course I don't know what the situation is back in Pucallpa. Never been there, so it's similar to Iquitos in some respects as a city, but where Maestro is in relation to it, I don't know. But obviously we've got to be pretty far out of the city to do the dieta, me and his friend. But I'm really still dismayed. There's something definitely wrong. I just haven't got a brain for languages, unfortunately, although I can speak quite a bit. I never understand the reply, and I really struggled with the girl in the getting the ticket. She was just talking to me, and I was just like Homer Simpson with one eye going out sideways, just listening to her, just thinking, is this ever gonna crack, and I'm gonna just be able to understand other than just a few words here and there. It's a real pain, and I was the same with Portuguese 20 years ago. But anyway, it is what it is. So, it'll be fine, with Maestro, so it's no problem at all. There'll be plenty of lost in translation episodes, I'm sure, but I have full trust that Mama wouldn't put me on this path if it wasn't going to go well. So I'm fine, and it's just and I just wasn't ready. With the tiredness last week, I just was not ready. The thought of having to find a flight, expensive as well, at short notice for this week to get out before the visa. So of course I'm just going to overstay and not worry about it. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I'm not bothered about it. The worst thing that happens is an overstay fee at $3 a day, so I'm not bothered about it. But I really wasn't up to a 40 to 54 hour, 3 to 4 flight journey to Vietnam this week. So it was that was a relief as well. Once Maestro confirmed with my little chat, it was like, yes, excellent. Really chuffed about that. So felt relieved, and so now it's, I've been thinking about quite a few other things about, because Maestro's showed us his plans on Saturday. He's just got a diagram, like he's obviously had a plan drawn up, whatever. So it wasn't a photograph, it was like a plan, a picture of his 25-person Maloka that he's building down in Pucallpa. And he showed us the design that he's got for his webpage, for his retreat that he's hoping to set up. And I asked him, is it going to be for foreigners or locals or both? And he said, foreigners, because obviously, it's money, it's big money. And he's going to need an English-speaking facilitator. So whether he already knows someone or what, I don't know. But, after I do the dieta, maybe something might crop up with that. It occurred to me. So we'll see. But, like everything on this journey, I just don't have any expectations, because no matter what you think, it can go up to the last minute, like this week, and it all changes. Disregardless of what Mum has been saying, she kind of leads you down a false route to get you to come to a particular conclusion and be willing to do something. Like she said to me before I left to go to Bolivia, that ceremony where 4 times she said, Steve, why don't you go to the Philippines? I think it would be really good for you. So I was like, after that ceremony, I'm thinking, why is Mum 4 times? What? She's really pushing the Philippines 4 times. Mentioned it just not in conversation, even just out the blue in the ceremony at various points. Steve, I really think the Philippines would be good for you. And I'm like, I'd not thought of the Philippines, but yeah, it's a pretty good idea. Not a bad place to go to still have the climate and the weather and a bit of a break. Swimming and diving in nice waters and whatnot. And but then it, when I actually checked it in reality, and it was again another month visa. And at the time I was thinking, I don't want to go somewhere that's got a month visa and have to keep hopping over borders. Although I was prepared to do it for Vietnam, because although it's easier there, because you've got so many countries, you can just cross a border quite simply for 24 hours and pop back in. So not a problem. The Philippines would have been different, obviously being an island, to leave the country. That would have been a flight again. But so all of these things, they just change. There's never anything, nothing's ever set in concrete until, up to last minute. So, and that's happened quite a lot on my journey. She leads you down a particular path, probably just to see what your reaction would be and how much you take on board of what she says, and then whether you're prepared to do it or not. But then I kind of changed my mind anyway, because it's just not practical for me in real life. Once I've actually thought about it or started trying to look at flights or just how much travel's involved and things like that. But there's always a reason that actually becomes clear later on. It's like the journey that I did down before I went to Bolivia. I had to do that shit 3-month journey down the whole west coast of shitty Peru, and it's horrible. Pissy towns, horrible piss-stinking Chala and places like that. Horrible journey. But it dawned on me, because after a week or two, it's like, I can't stick this, and I'm bored, I've got nothing to do, there's nothing to see, everything's horrible, the weather was crap, it was cold, the people aren't very nice, the towns are horrible and shitty, truck stop towns. And then it was like, well, I best get on with some Spanish then. And that's when I did the bulk of my Spanish for the 3 months I was away, and accumulated all the words that I did. So, and then you think, Mama made me do that so that I was on that journey with nothing else to distract me, and made me buckle down to a particular level of Spanish for my own benefit. And of course it has paid off. I haven't done much for the last couple of months though, but it's been a real help, and it had to be done. And now for this week, I've started listening today again to my Spanish recordings and that I've done, that I started doing for Lady and Antonio, with them in mind mainly, which was the incentive to do it rather than for me, because that's the way I am, really. Just, I don't do stuff myself, but if I've got someone else to do it for, I can get into it. It's weird. So I had a good chat with Antonio about it and showed it on my phone what I'd done, but went through it with him practically, sat in his room for a bit, because he's leaving. Antonio's leaving soon now. He got his certificate for his qualifications and another one in English. So he's going to go on and continue his college work. So he's going to go back to Yurimaguas, his hometown, in February. So he'll be leaving the retreat as one of the workers that helps Lenny. But it was also great because it meant that Friday wasn't, it wasn't sad. But I gave Lady such a big hug, tripping out on ayahuasca, and she was been so tired, especially like all of us, because her and Christian have been falling asleep at night in the ceremonies because they've been absolutely knackered. This group was tough, and then the week before, and again it's all cumulative. So I gave Lady one of my alpaca hoodies. In ceremony, I'd actually loaded it with love. Actually, I didn't tell her, but in ceremony, I knew I was going to give it to her at the end of the ceremony. I just loaded it with love, so that whenever she wears it, which I love her to bits. But she's just my beautiful sister. She's so wonderful. Everybody loves Lady. You can't not. She's got such a massive heart, and she's beautiful. She's such a beautiful person. So it was really nice on Friday. And of course, the chat before, when they do their little talk before the ceremony starts, there were no tears like there was when I left last time, which was good, because, but we didn't know at that point, or did we? Can't remember. But, because I'm not leaving Peru now. And of course, as soon as I finish the dieta, I can just go straight back and see them all. And maybe Josh will be back then, which reminds me, I'm going to do just a private message for a YouTube video for Josh, to thank him so much for being the provider of the retreat, because it's just a miracle what he does there, because they're still they don't make money there, they lose money, and Josh has to work to pay for it, and people don't realize that, which is why I say it's the best retreat, because it is. As I wrote in my review on higheradvisor.org, there's no other retreat that's so full of genuine love and care that does the work of Mama Ayahuasca as their primary motivation. The finances are secondary, but obviously they still need guests. We only had 4, including me, last week. So it'd be nice to have them regularly booked for people who do see my videos, so that they've at best got a group of 6. Just to help with that extra income. But it's nice to, obviously, from a personal point of view, and for the other guests who happen to be in a group of 4, because it is nicer the less people there are. You get far more attention from the shamans in terms of energy, especially when you've got people with strong energies, like there has been the last 2 weeks. 8, as I said before, 8 is a bit much, I think. It's just a little bit too much, and we're all a little bit close together, and it's a little bit more energetic. It's a bit too much. But when you get a groups of 4 or 6, and if everyone's open, got trait openness, which is another point for the groups the last 2 weeks. If you watch this, there's something, I'll send you it all on by WhatsApp, but something that some of you may be interested in. But Dr. Jordan Peterson has a site, I think it's knowyourself.com or something like that. But if you do a search for trait openness or personality traits, Jordan Peterson, you'll find his webpage, and for $15 you can do a program of writing of your past experiences in life, your previous experiences, your current aspirations, and where you see yourself in 5 years or 3 or 5 years in the future. And writing that down helps. And then when you send it in, they've got the algorithms, or however they do it with the software and stuff. They give you a report back on what your particular character traits are, which is similar to what Jess was talking about this other site called, I think it was Human Nature or something. And they give you a summary of what your particular character traits are. So you might want to have a look at that and just do the program over a period of weeks. Just write in your spare time when you're ready, and just you write stuff. And it's amazing what comes up in that from a psychological point of view, the memories, things that have affected you. And it, again, like all these things, like therapy, talking to people, which is why trait openness is really a great thing to have for guests who come to retreats. Because if everyone's trait open and not embarrassed or got anything that is clouding them, you know, and weighing heavily on them. And to speak about it with people that you can trust, you know, that are all been in similar situations, suffered trauma, whatever trauma it may have been, it's a really good thing in ceremony, especially, you know, once ayahuasca starts working and people have that shared experience and feel okay about talking about whatever that's happened to them in their lives. It really does go toward the unloading process. So, you know, I hope people bear that in mind. But anyway, really, that's pretty much it, because the ceremonies were just wonderful. They were hard, very difficult, but rewarding, as it always is. So on that note, I'll leave it. So that's ceremony 66 over and done with. End of this particular stage of the journey. I'm viewing this dieta as separate, although it's still obviously the second level from obviously my first journey in 2021 to 22, and now this is 22 to 23. So it's like the second year at uni, in a way. Still a lot of cleaning. Only now feel completely clean after 2.5 years. It's been, yeah, and sometimes I was just sitting there thinking, before the ceremony, you know, when Gino was saying, you know, Steve, you know, so much respect for you, and you know, the warrior has just continued on this crazy journey of so many ceremonies. But you know, Mama's given me and the plant spirits have given me the necessary energy and ability to get through it. You know, it's all Mama and the plants. Although Mama's told me, she said, you know, don't put all the credit on us. You know, give some credit to yourself, because you still knew what you had to do and were prepared to do it, and obviously had the financial means to do it. But nevertheless, you know, it's still all, from my perspective, it's all the plants, plant medicines, and Mama ayahuasca. It's been responsible for it, and it's a great space to be in, to finish such a nice number of 66. And looking back on it as 2.5 years, I was thinking, how the hell have I done it? It's like, you know, when people do 3 and they, you know, like they've told me after, say, they do a week and they're exhausted and they need a rest. How the hell have you done 60, you know, so many? It's just like, you know, if that's what your path is, Mama will get you through it, you know, she will. But the end of this week, I said to the guys, it was like, after that, I don't want to see another cup of ayahuasca for a long time. But in reality, it may only be a couple of weeks. If the dieta starts in a couple of weeks' time, or just over a week now, but I feel all right about it already. This is the way it works. You know, once you get over your tiredness and recover, you're ready to go again. It's weird, you know. But Friday or Saturday morning, it was like, I don't want to see another. And Friday night, just swallowing it's like, that's it, man. I don't want a fucking another cup of ayahuasca for until whenever, but weeks, months. You know, that was the way it felt at the time. It was like, oh, Jesus, not again. And it was another tough ceremony. It wasn't easy. You know, it wasn't actually, as Maestro said, oh, it'd be easier. Yeah, it was easier, but it wasn't that easy. I was still awake until Friday, probably 3 in the morning. But pulled myself down with some rapé, started my meditation counts, which Mama always says, count and just don't stop. Just continue your counts, and then a couple of rounds of that, and bang, our next thing was waking up. It's, you know, Kristen's knocking on the door 8 in the morning. Breakfast is ready in 5 minutes. It's like, okay. So, yeah, tough week. But really looking forward to seeing a bit of Pacalpa now, and obviously Maestro's situation, where it's going to be, whether he's got a little house out in the sticks somewhere, or where it's where we're in the jungle, or how it's going to work, I don't know. And we've got to be out away from the city to some degree to be in the jungle to do a dieta properly. And for 3 months, you know, there's got to be no distractions. So it'll only be me and the other guy there, which is fine. If you do dietas, you can be with someone else if they're doing the dieta as well. But generally, you just have the shaman. If they're done properly, just the shaman comes and visits you and gives you your food. So hopefully there'll be a lot of peace out there. I did ask him, actually. I did text him. I said, you know, what's the situation? Because with Maestro Jairo, he brought his family, and there was obviously Maestro Jairo's 2-year-old I've done the videos on. He was very, very active and loud child, and it was hell. at some points when he's screaming and crying and you're on a dieta, and it's not the way to do it, really, properly. Very, very frustrating, a lot of anger periods, but again, it's all cleaning in retrospect, but it was difficult. But I did ask Maestro, I said, is it quiet? There's no screaming kids, barking dogs, this sort of thing. He said, no. He said, look, don't worry, it's fine. He said, there's only his wife going to be cooking the food for the dieta for us, and that'll be that. So, depending on how it goes, whether I've got a phone signal there, will depend whether I'll document it all, obviously. I've got 3 phones here, so I shouldn't run out of memory for the 3 months, even if there's no phone signal, to be able to upload them. And obviously recharge the phones, because we won't be able to go back into town unless Maestro can pick up recharge cards or something periodically. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Just not going to worry about it at this stage. But they will all be recorded. But whether I can upload them on a regular basis, I won't know. I don't know till I get there. So anyway, that's that done. 45 minutes. Wow, waffle. Okay, that's done. Love to all of you. The last 2 weeks of groups, fantastic. Miss you all. Hope you get through your integration nicely. Keep the faith. Keep connected with the prayers every day. A couple of minutes is all that's required for your benefit. Take care.